Evolution is a powerful weapon, each incarnation better, faster, stronger, learning from past mistakes. The Golf GTI has been subject to this process for over 4 decades, and it knows that past glories don't win today's battles. Enter the new Volkswagen Golf GTI.
Hot hatchbacks have always been the people's champion, an affordable means to shame the boss's sports car. With this GTI, it was a case of if it's not broken, don't fix it, and the recipe stands broadly similar, which is certainly no bad thing. You'll find some revisions to the exterior, some sharper creases, some new LED lights and reworked bumpers. But overall, the GTI still understands the power of the understatement. It's not too in your face, it's something you can take to your mother-in-law's and she won't bat an eye. But it's also something of an eye-catcher to those in the know, looking out for those infamous 3 letters. Under the bonnet you'll find a 2-litre 4-cylinder turbocharged engine, which for this model year churns out 227 brake horsepower and 258 pounds-feet of torque. That performance potential is channeled to the front wheels via this 6-speed DSG automatic gearbox, which is actually pretty responsive. There's also a manual option for those who want to get their hands a bit dirty. It'll do 0 to 62 miles per hour in just 6.4 seconds and go on to a top speed of 154 miles per hour, but the GTI's never been about 0 to 60 sprints or top speeds or this, that or the other. It's been about those point-to-point B-road blasts, and I'm pleased to report this is still an A-grade car for such trips. The GTI's greatest asset is the chassis balance that it has. There is loads of grip on offer, seriously a phenomenal amount. It means you can throw it into corners at silly speeds and it just sort of grips and goes. All that power is dealt with through the front wheels, and there's not really too much in the way of understeer. You can really exploit the performance that you have under your right foot. The amount of feedback that comes through the precise steering and the way you can really feel the chassis working beneath you will reward keen drivers. And the well-weighted brake pedal means that you can really modulate those brakes and be very precise with your inputs. And for those moments where driving gets particularly spirited, you can flick things over into sport mode that increases the firmness of the dampers, the weighting of the steering and the throttle responsiveness, and altogether you have a really engaging car to drive. The resistance to body roll, particularly with the dampers in their firm setting, is quite impressive. But the key thing about a hot hatchback is that it's a machine of no compromise. You can really have your cake and eat it, and the GTI is a fantastic example of that. The interior is actually a pretty spacious affair in here. Okay, there's a few scratchy plastics, but generally speaking, the whole environment feels durable, the sort of thing that maybe is going to deal with family life quite well. You've got in this car for the first time a new 9.2-inch touchscreen infotainment display that's called Discover Pro, and yeah, it's really quite intuitive and very visual. It's nice to be able to look at that and see exactly what's going on just at a glance. Something else that's nice and easy to read is the new 12.3-inch driver's display. That's totally digital, customizable, and reflects the current function of the infotainment system, so it sort of transforms into maps and things, so you can just see that at a glance instead of being distracted whilst driving. This car's been optioned with the traditional tartan seats, which I'm a big fan of. They've got really nice bolsters, they hold you in place really well. Now the tartan continues into the rear bench that seats 3. There's loads of head and legroom for rear occupants, or the outermost rear occupants, because the middle occupants do have to deal with that transmission hump, which sort of gets in the way of where you're going to put your feet. However, the good news is that boot space is 380 litres or 1,270 litres with the seats folded flat. Going about your day-to-day business in the Golf GTI isn't irksome in the slightest. It's an easy car to drive because, well, it's a Golf. Visibility's pretty good all around, steering weights are sensible, a really nice smooth engine, quite refined actually. The only thing I will say is obviously the firm sporty ride that you have, and combined with the larger alloy wheels of this car, does have a tendency to thump into potholes. But generally speaking, it can be driven well just like any other Volkswagen Golf. There's no penalty for the performance. Volkswagen claim that this car with its DSG gearbox emits 145 grams per kilometre of CO2 and will achieve 44 mpg combined. Whilst there is some debate as to whether the Golf GTI was the very first hot hatchback, there is no denying that it sparked the true popularity of the breed back in its day. And that's very much the case here. The Golf GTI is the benchmark in this class. If you fancy a car that's not going to break the bank, keep the other half sweet, and be really enjoyable on those B-road barnstorm blasts, well, the Golf GTI is a great choice. At £27,865, it's certainly competitive in just about every respect.
Thanks very much for watching, and let us know what you think in the comments below. Please subscribe for all of the latest and greatest cars to hit the road. For breaking news and written reviews, visit www.insidelane.co.uk.